All right, guys, welcome back to another Thursday edition of the White Noise Podcast. Today we are joined once again by the fantastic musician, vocalist, composer, Rachel Hardy. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. I couldn't help but thinking that the last time we talked on this podcast, we talked about your YouTube channel and some of your videos had blown up and stuff like that. And you were adamant that it was a hobby. And then like 1 month later, you get 100,000 plaque, which is on your wall. And you're like, oh, yeah, and I'm launching merch. It's just a hobby. And I was like, oh, wow, great hobby.
It's kind of funny because I just realized how it looks like I'm really trying to show this off, but it was completely unintentional, I promise.
It doesn't. And you should be proud of it. I mean, 100,000 subscribers on YouTube is awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So are you doing anything more in that field at all, or you're kind of just seeing where it goes?
I'm sticking with the same schedule. I'm still only doing a video a month, so Nothing's really changed. Just continuing on with how I usually do things. Yeah. But yeah, I did get my merch going, which is fun.
How is that process? Is that like a pain in the butt, or is it just like full creative freedom?
It was a little bit of a pain just because it's time consuming. I did one of the designs myself, and then I hired someone to do the other one. Oh, nice. So it just took time, and
like how do you even go? Like I wouldn't know how to go about that process. Hopefully I will one day. But like how are you using like one of those like Teespring, or are you like going through an individual?
I am using Teespring. I just decided to go like the easy route because I didn't want to have boxes of stuff in my house all the time. So I just went with the print on demand route.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
it's been exciting.
You were telling me right before we got started, you're doing some music for games.
Yeah.
Tell me a little more about that.
It's my first time writing music for games, so it's been kind of a learning experience just because there's some really interesting and complicated software. To me, complicated. I guess once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. But so I mean, the first project was quite a bit of a learning curve, but I think I've gotten the hang of it somewhat now. So just keep working at it.
So do you have to use like a different software for gaming music, or? I am a layperson here, so tell all the stupid non-musicians.
No, I didn't know anything about it until recently, but basically you have to put the music into a software that tells it where to go depending on what the person's doing in the game.
Oh my gosh.
So, if they go underwater or something, then maybe the music does something different. So you have to basically program the music to move in different ways. And then if their health is this, then this happens. Or if the intensity of the level is at a certain point, then it jumps them to a different part of the music. All of that kind of stuff. It's kind of complicated.
Wait, that's super cool, though. I didn't even think about that. Like, I didn't think about the levels involved in. Oh, my gosh. How big are these? Like, this sounds like, Skyrim level games here.
The one that I just finished was just a demo, so it was only 3 levels, which was good for me because it gave me a chance to learn how it works without it being just obscenely complicated.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's been interesting.
Do you play video games at all? Is that like a thing for you?
That's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because I don't.
Okay.
I don't really play games at all.
I feel like video games are like drugs for me. Like I have to stay away from it because I will become intensely invested, and I'll just be like, well, I have to be the greatest Skyrim player in the world. It's either that or nothing. And so I'm like, all right, no video games for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty competitive also. It's easy to get,
right? That's where my mind goes, and it's like crazy. I'm like, oh, I gotta train.
Exactly.
Start watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah. Dude, something I was thinking about, I was just, because I was kind of going back through some of your stuff before this. Would you ever consider doing pursuing a more vocal career, so to speak? Because I know it seems like you kind of want to pursue composing, right?
Yeah.
Would you ever consider being like an Enya 2.0 or like something like that?
I don't know. And the reason that I say that is because I am very shy, and I have a lot of stage fright. And I feel like when you think of someone being a vocalist as their career, you can't have stage fright. You can't be scared to perform at any moment, you know?
Yeah.
But I am. So I don't know. It's something that I enjoy doing.
Do you perform a lot live? Like, do you have a lot of experience doing that? No?
No, not really. It's just, that's why I got into YouTube, is because it's like, it's an easy way for people to hear me sing, but without me being there live doing it in front of people. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's something I need to work on for sure. I'd like to maybe start like doing some live streams or something, because at least that's somewhat like performing. I mean, it's not performing in the same room with a bunch of people, but it's the same idea. So that might help me kind of get into the whole performing thing. I don't know.
The thing that absolutely petrifies me about live streams, and this isn't a problem that you'll have, I'm sure, but it's a problem for me, is just doing a live stream and then like the soul crushing like 2 people that are in it. And they're like, oh, hi, it's Auntie Susan. How are you? And you're like, oh, why did I do this?
Aww,
this is so
just
bad.
Your biggest fans.
But that's cool. Is that weird? Like, I was just thinking about that. Like, and now that you're telling me you're like a shy person, like, how is that? Because I mean, you know, only 100,000 subscribers, but you have some videos that are like very legitimately caught by the YouTube algorithm and thrown out there and have millions and millions and millions of views. Is that weird? Do you engage at all? Like, I know it's a cliche thing, but even on the micro level, like, I know you're like, oh, I'd never read the comments, and then you post a video and somebody comments like, this sucks, and you're like, why? What did I do? What was wrong about it? Like, how do you deal with all that? Because that's like a lot. There's a lot of spotlight, especially on like an individual video, which is almost scarier.
I guess, but it's just different when I've put a lot of work into it, and you know, I've gotten it mostly the way I want, and then I put it out there. Then it's just out there, and it's like, whatever. But as for like comments and stuff, I actually love reading comments, especially the hate comments, which is really weird. I actually really look forward to them, and I have a little folder on my phone where I keep my favorite ones.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, I screenshot all my favorite hate comments and I keep them because they're so funny.
Well, that's awesome. That's super healthy. Jeez.
I mean, at the point that my channel's at, you're always going to get positive comments, and you're always going to get really creepy comments, and you're always going to get hate comments. And so it's just like, it's very rare that I'll actually delete a comment. I mean, if it's like pretty R-rated or something, then I'll take it down. But no, I really enjoy the comments. There's a lot of really encouraging people and a lot of really funny people. So I don't know. I've always enjoyed it.
What, like, you know, you say that, you know, you spent the time and made sure it's all good how it is for like a YouTube video. You know, from my point of view, I'm like, oh, you sit in front of a mic and you set up 3 different cameras, and then you sing your song and it's great, and you have the track in the background, and then you're done and you upload it. And I'm sure that's not what it is, because, you know, I've made videos and you're like, oh, you just sit in front of a podcast mic and record, and you're like, I wish. So like, what is the actual process? Like, do you record it multiple times? Do you use like little bits? Like, can you cut it up? Like, is that even possible with music recording? Like, can you do like one chorus from one take and then something from another take and like put them together and then...
And I do that quite a bit. Yeah, so basically like the first step is making the track, which probably takes the most amount of time.
Okay.
Because I usually want to make the song into something else or make it my own in some way. So when I'm making the track, that's usually where that comes into play. So that'll take me a few days. Then I'll record, and then there's the mixing everything. So taking little pieces from certain takes and then mixing that, and then, you know, mastering and doing all of that takes a few days, getting it the way I want it to sound. And then I'll usually export it like 20 different times, because every time I listen to it on a different speaker, it like something sounds off. So then I have to go back you know, turn up the vocals or turn down the vocals or something. So
how do you listen to music normally? Like how after doing that to a song, how do you not like just completely deconstruct all music that you hear ever?
It's weird. I never do it for other music. It's only
Really?
the music that I'm working on. Yeah, it's super weird. And I can never
crazy.
form an opinion. I'm always like, I can't tell if the vocals are too loud or if they're too quiet. Just, I never have any idea. And then there's the video editing, which takes me a while.
Video editing, I think, takes a surprisingly long amount of time. I don't know what it is. It can be like the simplest video, and it's just like 3 hours of your day are just like sucked out of existence. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I thought that was going to be easy.
Yep. Plus my computer, I don't have like a powerful computer for that kind of thing. So it most of the time I waste editing is just rendering and waiting for things to load and stuff like that. It's just a pain.
That's a giant pain. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, I don't know about you, but I have been actually, I didn't even think about this. Is Thanksgiving just an American holiday? It is, right?
We have it in Canada, but we had it in October.
So you guys don't do anything for Thanksgiving?
We don't do anything for November.
That's so weird. Okay, so you've already had Thanksgiving. So
Yeah.
what I was going to say is like I'm listening to Christmas music before Thanksgiving, and that's like a mortal sin, but that doesn't matter because you guys have already had Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Do you have favorite Christmas music? Because and I don't even know why, but I am obsessed with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Have you heard of
Oh
Trans-Siberian
yeah,
Orchestra?
yeah. They're
I
great.
absolutely love their music. Would you ever do anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I was a huge fan of them growing up. I'm doing.
I feel like it's a 2000s thing, right?
Yeah,
I remember when it blew up. You're like, oh, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I'm the
so
cool
cool.
kid.
But I'm doing my first, well, I guess it's not technically my first Christmas song. I've done one before, but I took it down for my channel.
Okay.
So I'm doing my second/first Christmas song this month. And it's funny because I'm collaborating with a piano player who's from the US. And I told him I wanted to release it this upcoming Monday. And he said, no, like, we have Thanksgiving. That's wrong. You can't do that. And I was like, what? Because we've already had our Thanksgiving. So we're ready for Christmas already.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, you got to wait till after. So that's what we're doing. Won't be this Monday, but the one after.
That's cool. Is it like original, or are you just doing like a cover? Or
No, it's a Celine Dion song.
Oh, okay. Christmas songs are always weird like that because I feel like there's a part of it that's like disrespectful if you make it too weird, but like you also want to make something original, but then you don't want to do like the millionth cover of Jingle Bells or something like.
Exactly.
That's always so odd.
The one song that I love is I don't even know what it's called. It's the Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart.
Oh, that's the best Christmas song ever.
I love that song.
I love that song. That song is absolutely incredible. That song
Such a bop.
and All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey.
yeah.
I shamelessly will blast that song with the windows rolled down. That song is just absolute gold.
Have you seen the charts that show the amount of plays of All I Want for Christmas Is You?
No, is it
And
just
every
like through
year,
the roof?
yeah, every year it like spikes all the way up and then goes all the way down after.
I love how it's become like a Christmas classic. Like you hear it on the radio, like Christmas class, and I was like, it's not that long ago, right? Like I think that was a fairly recent song, but that's cool. I like how it's a Christmas classic. Do you have any like Christmas tradition movie watching sort of stuff that you do? Since you guys actually have snow.
My family, every year we watch Christmas with the Cranks. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, I've never even heard of that. What in the world is Christmas with the Cranks?
You need to watch it. Basically, it's like, I think this couple, they decide that they always spend too much on Christmas, so they decide to go on a vacation instead.
Okay.
But then like, oh, what happens? Oh yeah, and then their daughter like announces that she just got engaged, so then they cancel their vacation, and then they have to like pull together this massive Christmas party like just in time.
Is there
It's just,
anybody
like,
in
really
it like
stupid.
famous or anything, or is it just like a random
Yes, and I can't remember their names, any of them.
Christmas with the Cranks? Oh my
You gotta
goodness.
watch it. It's pretty good.
I'm always trying to look for Christmas movies because you want to avoid all the like cliche.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird movies that my family just picked up and really enjoyed for some reason.
It's got Tim Allen in it and Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh my gosh, this is amazing! Everybody go watch this. We're watching this movie for the podcast, and then we're gonna talk about it. I want to watch this.
You need to do like a podcast
movie.
review of Christmas with the Cranks.
Yes, I want to watch Christmas with the Cranks. It sounds amazing. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think we have any other traditions though. What about you?
I don't do. I see. It's like weird. We never had traditions, so I'm trying to like make. You know what I mean? I'm trying to like
Yeah.
start. I was trying to. My challenge for Thanksgiving this year is I'm going to try and bake a pumpkin pie, which I've just absolutely god awful at baking. So I was like, all
You
right,
can do it.
My brother will eat anything, so I just experiment on him, and he's okay with it, which is great. So I can like hone my cooking skills. So yeah, that's my challenge for this year is to make a pumpkin pie, and then if that's successful, who knows what I'll do for Christmas. As far I was like decorating, and I always get mad. Like our house never used to decorate, so now that I'm in my own space, I want to like decorate. I like got decorations for my car, like one of those like reindeer horns. Like I always think that's cool. It's like cheesy, but it's like who cares? It's Christmas. It's what it's about.
Christmas. You can do anything.
Like that kind of stuff. Exactly. Yeah, I think that stuff's awesome. But let's get back to you here. Tell me a little bit more about composing, because I don't even know. Like, I was talking to somebody about the film industry, so to speak, for a while, and I was kind of laying out a plan to kind of go about. And it's the classic process of slaving away and interning and doing all these different kind of things until eventually you get an opportunity. How does composing work? Because I feel like it would kind of lend itself to that sort of apprentice, master sort of format. Like, do you literally just make stuff till someone notices you? Is that what you do? Like, what's the normal, like, play it by the rules method, and where are you as far as that path is concerned?
I don't think there's any really right way to do it, but one of the common ones is to be an assistant of a composer for at least a few years. That's pretty common. I'm in Canada, so I'd have to relocate to like LA or something to do that. But again, there's just no right way to do it. Some people just kind of get discovered, or they just get hired for
have you had any difficulty like finding work, or you kind of just got, your YouTube channel blew up, so that kind of gives you a little bit of visibility.
Surprisingly, it's been pretty good for getting work. I'm finding myself pretty busy. One of the things that helped with that was the Westworld competition thing, just because people didn't know I existed before that, but it kind of helped a little. And then also my YouTube channel is great because other composers will find me, and then if they need vocals or anything for their compositions, then I can always do that for them. And then, I'm making connections with other composers that way, which is great. I just got to let them know that, hey, I also compose, because sometimes that gets lost in the... But yeah, no, I think connections are super important just in general. Yeah. The more people you know, then the more opportunity will come up. So. Yeah,
for sure. Is it weird that like, because from the way I understand it in the composing world, like soundtracks are kind of looked down on, like it's kind of just like a moneymaker. It's like the equivalent of me filming weddings instead of making movies, right? But like, that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So definitely. why that as opposed to like making, the next greatest classical piece? I don't even know.
Okay, yeah, I see. Yeah, it is kind of weird. I do find that people kind of look down on film music, especially in like universities and academic settings. But I'm not sure why that is, because I think film music is important, and it's great music most of the time. There's some really great soundtracks out there, so I don't know why some people have that attitude.
Because I feel like it's almost like it seems to be the upgrade. And look, classical music people are going to hate me, and we already talked about me hating classical music on the last podcast. But like, to me, it seems like the upgrade, because it's like the ultimate collaboration. Like, you're telling a story with your music, and you're doing, whereas classical music is like trying to tell a story with no visuals, and like I don't know. It just seems like the next step would be to do film music, because it's a, I don't know, not better art form. I'm gonna get canceled by classical musicians.
It's definitely more accessible to people in general, because it gives them something, like it gives them a way to connect to the music and to the film at the same time. So maybe classical composers might see it as like an easy way to get attention, or I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just saying stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It is too bad that people don't go to concerts as much anymore, and they don't go to the orchestra as much.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. How, like, that has to take a toll on the entertainment side of that. I mean, you know, COVID too, but like
Right.
ignoring that has to take a toll on like live performances, because like nobody goes to see classical music anymore. Like, it's not.
I do, but
Sorry.
no, it's very few, it's true. Not many people do, and it is too bad. But so some people might see film as like, oh, it's taking away from that concert experience. People are going to movies instead of going to the orchestra. But the way I see it is that it's kind of it's bringing orchestra music to people who otherwise wouldn't even go to the orchestra.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Plus, like,
no, it's like the bridge. It's like the bridge between both worlds. Yeah.
It's reaching out to like people who wouldn't otherwise listen to orchestral music in general.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. I don't know. But
is there a lot of contemporary classical? Like, when I think classical music, I think like Beethoven and Bach and like,
right.
That's it,
I think a lot of people do.
And I know there is some, but is there like, oh, you know, this composer's dropping their new classical concerto? Like does that happen a lot?
It is a thing. Yeah. I'm not super into that whole world, but
Okay.
I took a class in university, and it was a class on like, what was it called? Sonic Arts is what it was called. And what we did in that class was make just weird soundscapes with like weird sound effects that like move around the room. Like it was just weird. And I was like, is there actually a market for this kind of thing? Do people actually just listen to sound effects and weird synths and just, and people do. Like my professor was talking about all these famous sonic artists who are like very successful, and they release albums of just like sounds and soundscapes. And you know, it's kind of weird to me, but I mean, there's people who really enjoy that stuff. So to each their own. Cool. It's kind of like its own genre.
Yeah, that's odd. That's a little,
yeah, it is strange.
I don't know what to think about that.
But it's like similar to how certain people prefer different genres of music.
Yeah.
You know, other people are just really into soundscapes, and that's cool.
Yeah. Sure. No, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, I have become more and more obsessed with film music. I think, like, I've had a few more musicians on this podcast, and the more I talk to musicians about it, and then the more I like actually get to use, you know, stuff beyond copyright free music in films, it's just such a crucial part of it, and it's so cool, and it's such the like extra level of everything. I don't know. It's like the emotion you need in a story. It really is, and it adds so much to everything. And I think bad soundtracks are so. It's not. There's never a bad soundtrack where you're like listening to it and you're like, that sounds off. It's just like bad soundtracks have no personality.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really adds like the memorable films that you think of, like, all have great, like, if you think of all the best films, you know, you go through your list of like, oh, you know, Schindler's List, like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, like all of them have iconic soundtracks. All of them.
It's
like
true.
You can hear the soundtrack and you're like, oh, that's Indiana Jones. That's Lord of the Rings. That's Schindler's List. Like all of these things. And I think it's because it like, I don't know, it like adds like you can, it's like a person. Like, yeah, I can dress like real great, but like if I have zero personality, you're going to completely forget about me. I feel like that's what music is for film.
Yeah. Definitely. I just finished the Queen's Gambit. Have you seen that show?
I haven't. I've been hearing amazing things. Is it worth watching?
Definitely. Yeah. The soundtrack was really well done. And it was just one of those, at the end of the show, you just have this feeling like you're just overwhelmed with how good the show was. And I think a huge part of that was the music, because my first instinct when the credits started rolling was I wanted to give the music like a standing ovation, but I was just like lying in my bed with my pajamas. So I was like, that would be kind of stupid if I actually did that. But that was like my first instinct. That's what I wanted to do, is like, cheer it
now,
on.
is there like a divide between, because you have some of those more like classical composers like Williams and people like that, you know, do people like that look down on things like what did you think of the Tenet soundtrack? Did you hear any of that?
I did.
I kind of think of that as like a lot more modern and very like abstract and kind of using synth and weird sound. And Daniel Pemberton does that a lot in his soundtracks. Like if you listen to the King Arthur soundtrack, he has like breathing sound effects and drums and like all this kind of stuff. Like, do you personally have a side you lean towards? Do you kind of like just losing yourself in a project and like kind of transforming for each project, or do you have like a style?
I mean, I think I'm still trying to figure out what my style is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I'm pretty much in the middle, but slightly over towards the more classical side, because I do tend to focus heavily on orchestral elements rather than like synthesized elements and that kind of stuff. But sometimes I'll just like dip my toes into that sound effects and synths and that kind of thing. So I feel like I'm kind of in the middle, but a little more classical. I'm not sure though.
That's cool though. Yeah, because a lot of your covers that you do are very, I can't even say classical. The only person I can think of that does music like that is Enya, and I know that's I don't even like, it's not the only one, but I just think like when I hear your music, I think like, oh yeah, like The Witcher and Lord of the Rings and like these like medieval like ballads and epics.
Yeah, I do. I think my favorite genre is like the fantasy genre.
Yeah.
Just because I like that when you're creating the soundscape for a new world or like a world that's not our own, then you have more freedom, because it's like you don't have to conform to one certain culture or time period, or, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's a fictional world, you have more freedom to be creative with the music.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of world building that can go into music.
Exactly, yeah. Which is like, I think that adds a lot of fun to the process.
Yeah, I feel like that can just play with, it's kind of like subconscious, but I think it's the reason, like Star Wars is so great and all these different kind of things, because they have so many themes, and you kind of just like subconsciously are like, oh yeah, that's this clan and this group here. And it's so cool. I have begun working on this like kind of bigger project that we're doing, and because it's an animation project, it's kind of the first time as like a filmmaker that I've had like full freedom, because I'm always like, oh, we can't have this prop, we can't have this truck pull up, budget or whatever. And I feel like it's the same thing. It's like this ultimately freeing feeling of like, we can completely start from scratch. Like we get to design what the people look like, and the cars and the buildings and the guns and the clothing and everything, and the color. It's one of the, it's like daunting, but I think it's also one of the coolest like creative endeavors.
Right. Yeah, I agree. The cool thing about music too with world building is you can take instruments from different parts of the world and, create some new cool mix that you wouldn't otherwise think of. You could take something from like India and something from Norway and put them together, and you have like a whole new instrument combo that you wouldn't otherwise use, because that would make no sense if it was like a film about Norway. You would be taking instruments from other cultures. But if you're creating a world, then you can create your own mixes of these things, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's funny, but that's something I used to like. I didn't look down on, but I used to be kind of like, oh, like who cares? There's like this little, Easter egg in this animation thing, whatever. But I like, the more I look at it, I feel like it kind of has a subconscious effect on, like, let's say a film, when you have all the different like people who come together, like, oh, the the animator, let's say, and then the director and the actor and then the musician, and they're all like, they have like this specific vision, and they're all putting just immense amounts of detailed work into it. Even if you don't like see necessarily the little like, oh, special Easter egg, or even though they don't hear it and they're like, oh, that's an instrument from Norway and then from Sweden. Like, I feel like when you personally put that work into it, it just has an effect that makes the work better. Like, I've noticed that as an actor a lot, where it's like, oh, I've imagined the arc of my character. And it's like, no one's going to know that. No one's going to know that like some crap happened when he was a kid, or whatever thing you think of. But what they do see is it's just better. Like, you are more confident in it. And so then like your actual performance is better. And I feel like that like helps everything artistically. Like when all the artists kind of do that, it's like more complete.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't know. That's something I've been playing with recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tell everybody what you have going on. Tell everybody where to find your merch and everything, because that is super cool. You have this like, once again, very medieval style. There we go. It's on camera here. It's like medieval style merch, which I think is super cool. Very on brand.
Yeah.
So you got merch, you know, you have your YouTube videos, you have your composition career. Tell everybody where to find you, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the same social media handle for all my social media. It's super annoying, but
There's so many Rachel Hardys out there.
yeah. So on Twitter, Rachel Hardy 306.
Okay.
Instagram, Rachel Hardy Music. That's the one I wanted for the other ones. And on Facebook, Rachel Hardy Sings. And yeah.
All right. So I'll
and
link
on
all that
YouTube, you
below.
can find me under Rachel Hardy.
Yeah. I'll put the YouTube. I'll put the merch. Thanks for coming on. I know this was kind of just
you.
like out of the blue kind of a return episode, but I thought it'd be cool. I like it was cool seeing your kind of career go forward, and I like checking up on people that we had on the podcast.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. And I feel like this one was like more chill because we already introduced everything last time. So it's just like a fun little discussion.
Yeah. I try. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. Go check out all of Rachel Hardy's stuff linked on wherever you are. Thank you for listening. Let me know if you guys have any questions. If you want to ask Rachel any questions in the comments, anything like that, let us know. Tell us what you like. Tell us if you have any other guests that you want to come on the podcast. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.